Nation, welcome back to Pat and Mike's Movie Club. Oh, Pat, I can't believe we're in the September edition. Like, it feels like we just started this.
Yeah, in the back of my head, like, when you said, hey, do you want to do some, like, movie podcast? And I was like, okay. That's where my head's been for, like, the last whatever months. And now, all of a sudden, we've done, what, 5, 6 movies?
Well, since September is the 9th month of the year, I would say...
All right, 6 plus 3.
This is the 9th.
6 plus 3, perhaps.
Yeah, that's where your head was at, right? Yeah.
You could say. Mike, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I mean, obviously, we should address, like, coming off the back of me saying TCB is on an indefinite hiatus, which is obviously big news. And I should say here, thank you to all the lovely feedback I got from the beautiful listeners of the show. Of course, this feed will still be active in the meantime, including movie clubs till the end of the year. And I'm sure there'll be a bunch of other stuff. And I will be back in podcast form at some point. And I'm really glad that we're doing this at least to the end of the year, though.
Definitely. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, stay keen for what's to come, listeners.
Yeah, and go to hell because, Pat, this week's movie that we're doing on Movie Club is...
Drag Me to Hell.
From 2009, let's get into it.
Whoa, what a cool trailer.
Someone has cursed you. He's the Lamia, the most feared of all demons. For the first 3 days, the spirit torments its victims. After that, it will come to take you.
Take me where?
To burn in hell for eternity.
All right, Pat, Drag Me to Hell was released in 2009 and was directed by Sam Raimi. The tagline, and I'm actually looking at, I use Letterboxd for the taglines, and this feels more like a description than a tagline, but I'll just read it. This is the tagline of the film. Christine Brown has a good job, a great boyfriend, and a bright future, but in 3 days... she's going to hell. The description is, after denying a woman the extension she needs to keep her home, loan officer Christine Brown sees her once promising life take a startling turn for the worse. Christine is convinced she's been cursed by a gypsy, but her boyfriend is skeptical. Her only hope seems to lie in a psychic who claims he can help her lift the curse and keep her soul from being dragged straight to hell. It stars Alison Lohman, Justin Long, Lorna Raver, Dilip Rao, David Paymer, and several other people. Pat, our first horror movie on Movie Club. What the hell did you think?
Very spooky. Well, let me say, I think another great tagline for the movie would have been cost of living is hitting everyone.
Yeah. And 15 years early as well.
Yeah, they were ahead of the curve. So Sam Raimi, bravo. Was coming.
Yeah, it was. I gotta say, like, I'm a big horror fan. This is one I've been wanting to watch for some time. Like, obviously, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man original trilogy.
Love Sam.
We love Sam. Did Multiverse of Madness, and of course he did Evil Dead as well.
Yes.
What did you have any awareness of this movie going into it, or when I mentioned it last time?
Truthfully, no. I literally thought that Sam Raimi went straight from Spider-Man 3 to Oz the Great and Powerful. So this movie's existence was a pleasant little shock for me.
Yeah, and it actually, from what I read about this movie, it was written and like conceived before Sam started on Spider-Man. So it was actually sort of, he actually had the idea and wrote this movie like in the early 2000s, but it didn't get made until 2009 after Spider-Man 3, which I think was in 2007. Quick question. What's your favorite of the OG Spider-Man trilogy?
That one scene in Spider-Man 2 where Spidey's awkwardly in the elevator with the dude and he's like, yeah, my crotch itches in this costume. That scene, above all the other movies.
So you don't actually have a favorite movie, you just have a favorite scene from the trilogy.
Oh no, I love Spider-Man 2 specifically for that scene.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
No, I love Spider-Man 2, saw it in cinemas when I was a kid, when I was 4 years old, and had a lot of nostalgia for those films, so Sam Raimi's always had a very, very safe spot in my heart.
Me too, and so I guess, I mean, we did have that long description of the movie, but I mean, there is so much going on here that I want to unpack with this one. Like, as a horror, I think it's good. Like, I thought overall this was a decent movie, but I gotta say, some of the acting is terrible. Some of the dialogue is terrible. It is so cringy at various points.
You know, you probably can tell that this was written like 20 years before it got made.
Yeah. Yeah. It just like, I don't know. And some of the special effects have not aged very well.
No. I have a lot of notes here about the effects.
Okay. And there's also points, which I'm sure we'll get to, in which there's just a lot of like, it's almost like absurdly gross stuff that actually comes across more funny than like I wasn't actually like it actually felt like something you would see in. Have you ever seen any of the scary movies, like the parody horror?
I have seen the first one when I was 12 years old.
Some of the stuff in this movie felt like you would see it in one of those where it's just excessive vomiting and stuff, and I was like, what the hell? So what are your thoughts on that?
I'll say this. I think this is probably the grossest movie we've had so far. So if we have
Freddy Got Fingered was pretty gross at points.
Yeah, but that was ahead of its time. If we had like a
what
top...
does that mean?
If Mike, can we introduce our top grossing movies? Not the movies in order of that have made the most money, but the grossest movies we've seen. I'd put this one number one.
Yeah, like that we've seen or that we've done for
that we've done so far.
Yeah. So this is definitely number one. And then number 2 would be Freddy Got Fingered.
Up to debate, but okay.
Yeah, okay. And so, like, because there are points... So, basically, the description of the movie is pretty apt. So, the first thing that happens, essentially, is this woman, she works in, like mortgage lending at a bank, and this old woman who is obviously a ghoul or some kind of demonic or, like, witch kind of figure.
Yeah.
By the way she... Like, that's how it's clear when she comes in that you're supposed to think that she's clearly the bad guy. But here's where I wanted to start with this. I actually, because she ends up getting cursed by this woman, I don't think the main character actually did anything wrong to deserve to be cursed.
Yeah, no, same. Like, if anything, it just made me feel sorry for her.
Yeah, because basically what happens is this old woman comes in and says, I need an extension on my loan because I can't pay it back. And the main character, who is clearly like a sympathetic person and wants to help her, basically said, hey, my boss said no, and you've already had 3 extensions, so we just can't extend the loan. and like, there's also, obviously there's this incentive for her that she's going to get a promotion if she can impress the boss. And all because of that, because she basically does what any bank would do in this situation and say, we can't extend the loan anymore. She gets cursed to hell for the rest of eternity. And then I was just like, well, that's stupid.
Like, especially like in Australia, that's just Wednesday for any customer service workers, you know?
Yeah, especially at the moment. So I thought because you're supposed to, I think it's kind of positioned in a way where they want you to be like, that stupid girl wouldn't help out this old lady. What an absolute fiend. She deserves to go to hell. And you're just like, she does not deserve this in the slightest.
Yeah, I think it would have been a much more interesting story if we saw someone who started out as an asshole or, you know, and then eventually worked their way through and became a better person. If anything, she kind of becomes a worse person, asterisk.
She definitely, I think she does. Like, there's definitely no her improving as an individual. Like, she starts off as a good person who does a reasonable thing and then gets condemned to hell and gets tormented and no one believes her and everyone gaslights her. And it's like all the tropes of a classic horror movie, you know, it's a young, like, attractive woman who is being haunted. No one believes her. She's often like at home alone being tormented by like the ghost of this old woman that she rejected. And you know, it at times it actually does feel like it's parody or satire, but I don't think it is. Her boyfriend is Justin Long.
Yes. Well, okay, the boyfriend isn't Justin Long, but Justin Long playing a character. That's how it works, in case everyone knew.
I think everyone knew that I meant that, but okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's not like a Being John Malkovich where he's playing himself for some reason.
That's like the reboot in like 20 years, being Justin Long.
Yeah. And so, you know, the boyfriend doesn't believe like that it's real. She goes to this psychic. The psychic tells her, oh, you're cursed and like you need to give me money. And the boyfriend's very cynical against psychics, as any boyfriend should be.
And also he, I forget his job. He's a professor.
Yeah, he's like a professor at a college or something.
So he's more into like education and logic and whatever.
Yeah, he's a skeptic.
Yeah, go see the shaman. I also just wanted to note, the shaman charged $60 for the reading, which would be the equivalent of $88.04 USD today, or $128.02 in the Australian dollar today.
I feel like that feels. I was going to say it feels fair. It's not fair because any psychic/medium is clearly a ripoff. But
yeah, 100%.
Like, that is what they would probably charge you. I don't know. I've never done one. But yeah, I think like what I always think in these movies, and it's sort of similar to a thing that I did on TikTok that went viral about Christmas movies. So hear me out. It's like in the real world, like that me and you are currently in.
Yes.
Like anyone who's like a skeptic about all this psychic shit and medium is like a sensible person, because like that's true, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was gonna ask, like, I'll get to that in a sec.
Okay.
But in movies like this, where in the canon of the movie, ghosts and ghouls and all of these demons and shit clearly do exist in this world, right? The skeptic ends up looking like an idiot for not believing, even though that is what any reasonable person would do. Do you know what I
and
mean?
it doesn't help that we forgot to mention the opening scene, the prologue, which
yes.
I have to say is probably one of the best opening scenes I've seen recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was great action, gets to the point, just hooks you right in.
Yeah.
Like if they had made that as a short to try and pitch to studios, I think that would have been a great little thing. But
Well, do you want to describe the opening scene for the listeners?
yeah, so it's set
In the late 60s, I think?
yeah, so 45-ish years prior to the movie setting, which I assume is 2009. Don't hit me up if I got the number of years wrong. But anyway, yeah, so this one's set overseas, and there's a family with a little girl who's cursed, and they go to this this person who's perceived to have mythical abilities to try and I suppose give her like something along the lines of an exorcism.
Yeah.
And eventually they do all this stuff, and they really hone in the title, and you see the girl get dragged to hell.
I thought it was a boy.
Oh, sorry. The child gets dragged to hell.
Well, these days you don't really know.
You can't
we
be
don't know
too
how the
sure.
child identifies.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah, and it gets dragged to hell, and that's really cool. And I think as the movie continues, it does feel pretty repetitive at times. Like
It does, yeah.
Gets attacked by demons. There's a point where she just like vomits up heaps of blood in the office at work, and everyone like freaks out. But the thing that I found unrealistic is no one actually said, "Are you okay? Like we should call an ambulance because what just happened is not normal for a human being. So there must be something serious.
No
wrong."
one helps her. Like, I mean, the filmmakers are probably trying to hone in the point of like, she's meant to feel like this. But yeah. Also just want to note the funniest thing that happens. So obviously in that scene, Christine vomits blood on her boss.
Yes.
And the boss turns to someone, and the first thing he says, which I found so funny, was, "Did I get any in my mouth?"
Yeah. It's like, mate, you're the only person who can answer that. How would we know? Can you taste it?
Exactly. Plus, the inside of mouths are already red, so hard to tell. You could argue.
Yeah. I think like that's another common thing with movies like this, because for a lot of the movie, right, like they're trying to make her seem crazy because like the demon that's infected her or whatever only kind of acts when no one else is around, right? And then someone will come in and there'll be all this mess, and she'll have blood on her, and she'll be like, "It was the demon," and they're like, "Oh, what? Like it's only you here, right?" Yeah. But then in front of everyone, she literally unhumanely vomits out all this blood, and no one has anything. Like, if you were a good boss, wouldn't you go to your stuff and be like, "Oh my God, we need to get you to the hospital. Something's seriously wrong." Like, but they're just like, "Oh, just let her run away." You know what I mean? There's a duty of care there that's not being upheld.
Yeah, if this was set in Australia, I think there'd be a lot of OH&S violations that we'd be noting.
Someone would follow up on, hey, one of the staff like projectile vomited blood everywhere. Like this isn't a good look for the business. There were customers in the store.
Bit of a sidetrack, but stick with me on this. Do you remember those old WorkSafe commercials where It was this business, and someone's like, "Oh my god, boss, WorkSafe is coming today." What? Really? Oh my god, wait, is this thing all good? Yep. Hey, Charlie, did you check all the wiring stuff? Yeah, that's good. Oh wait, I forgot this thing. Oh no, we've got this thing. Okay, we might be fucked, but it's okay. Let's keep going. And then they face their demons, and then they open the door, and it's just one of their workers.
It's like Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Dave, we thought you were WorkSafe. And then right after Dave walks in, some bloke goes, "That'll be me, mate."
Yeah, I remember the exact ad you're talking about.
Like imagine if that was...
That'll be me, mate.
Like imagine if bloody Dave from WorkSafe came into that moment. Could you imagine?
That'll be me.
Like he thinks he sees some like, I don't know, like inspector or whatever, and it's like covered in blood, and it's like, oh, it's bloody Davo.
Yeah. I know, it's Jeff from WorkSafe. I hate that guy. I think like early in the movie, there's this really scary scene where she gets into her car in the car park after she's been cursed by the old lady. That was probably the peak of the movie for me, because like she gets in the car and the old lady that's cursed her is sitting in the back of the car and just fucking attacks her.
Oh, that was freaky and like a little overkill. Like, yeah, it sucks you're gonna lose your house, but like
you don't have to kill a woman.
Yeah, mate, WorkSafe will do that.
And then there's moments where she like puts her fist all the way down her throat.
That's really... Yeah. I almost had to pause the movie. Look, we'll get into it as we go on, but yeah, so many gross parts that I've never been one to cover my eyes in parts, but this movie made it very tempting.
Yeah. So as a person, like, do you know anyone, or are you a person who like believes in this kind of shit, like demons and shit? I'm very skeptical, so
like I do know people, but not to a very conspiratorial extent, you know. Okay. It's more like, oh yeah, like there's this story of like my family, and like, it's kind of novel, but whatever. Like, I don't know, what about you, man?
Well, the ghosts aren't real. Like, we know
that. No, we can
because
definitively say that. A podcast exclusive, ghosts are not real.
Like, the thing is, all of that kind of folklore-y stuff, you know, it all emerges from like, you know, years and years and years ago, where we didn't have the technology we have now. We take so many photos and videos every day. So much of the world is being documented day to day. Why is it? It's like alien abductions and crop circles. If this was real, we would have evidence by now of it being real. Like, there's a reason we found dinosaur fossils, because dinosaurs are real, right?
Yeah.
There's no evidence of this stuff. No one has ever produced any kind of reliable evidence that anything like spiritual or anything, you know, paranormal is real.
Maybe if it was set today, you know, Christine would have had like a little dash cam, you know, in the front of her car, and she would have sent that to the police or something.
If she had the dash cam.
Maybe the dash cam would have been cursed. Oh!
Yeah, but that's it. Like, there's always a convenient reason. It's like, why, you know, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Oh, where's the video footage? Oh, we lost it. Like, there's something weird about that.
Yeah, they say that he was the victim after Christine.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The demon took over him.
That's a podcast exclusive.
Okay, so continuing through the movie,
yes,
there's this weird scene where like they're having dinner with Justin Long's parents.
That is true, which we also have to preface. Earlier on in the movie, you can see Justin Long talking to his mum on the phone, and Christine can overhear. And the mum is not... She doesn't like initially approve of her, and she's like, oh, well, this other girl, you know, she's well more suited and super successful. That's the kind of person I want my boy to be with.
That's it, yeah. And then they go to like this house for dinner, and it's like, it's really weird because it feels like there's more of a narrative that they're trying to push, but it doesn't really become relevant. So it turns out her mum, Christine's mum, is an alcoholic, and like, she thought it would like reduce favor with the mum, but Justin Long's mum character goes, oh, my mother was an alcoholic. Wow, you're so open and vulnerable.
Which is probably the only time in cinema alcoholism has like resorted to something positive and beautiful.
Yeah, and so then like you're like, oh, maybe this dinner party will go well, and she'll, you know, come out with like the parents liking her, but then the demon attacks and she yells at the door and the mum tells her to leave. So I just don't understand why they included that in it at all.
It was a bit strange. I felt like this movie ultimately was a little disjointed, and like, look, really, we can criticize this movie to hell. Oops, see the pun there.
Hey.
But like, of course, there's not going to be a one-to-one perfect way of like having all these reasons and explaining stuff. I suppose all you can do is have fun with it, which I do have to admit, if Sam Raimi has one incredible talent, it's taking something and making it fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like whether that's Spider-Man or Mila Kunis in the worst, prosthetics of all time.
Yeah.
Or, Bruce Campbell with a chainsaw and zombies. Like, he knows how to have fun. And there definitely were parts in this movie, which we'll get to later, but there were definitely parts, as much as I was grossed out, I definitely did think to myself, like, oh, geez, okay, well, this is a really fun way of showing it.
Yeah, it is very Sam Raimi. He's actually quite good at like body horror and doing gross out stuff. Like Evil Dead is a lot of that. I think it's more for me, like, I was genuinely very surprised when I looked the movie up after, because I actually went in very blind.
Same.
And it had positive reviews. Like, it was like critically like well received. And I was like, really?
Yeah, I thought it would have been like a 65% on like Rotten Tomatoes.
I thought it'd be like 40.
Really?
Like seriously, like not that ratings and reviews even really matter. Like it's all subjective anyway.
Yeah.
But like I just thought movie critics would have thought this was shit. But maybe for 2009 standards it was good. I don't know.
Maybe people were happy that there was no dancing to James Brown or bloody Topher Grace, Venom be like, hey, Parker, I'm Venom. Look
Also,
how scary I am.
In Spider-Man 3, Peter Parker hits Mary Jane in the face.
Yeah, that was fucked.
And
we don't
feel
talk about that enough.
No, but that's not okay at all. Like,
No,
and
like-
then they get back together at the end.
Yeah, if anything, Mary Jane should have just like fucked them off.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, well, that's...
Sorry, this isn't the Spider-Man 3 episode. That's coming in however many years.
Yeah, but like... And so continuing to move through the movie, like it basically ends up at this point where the fortune teller psychic kind of guy goes, oh, you know, I can get you in front of this the right person, who I guess is like an exorcist kind of thing.
Yeah, essentially.
But you need $10,000 by tomorrow. In which case, like in the real world, you would be like, well, this is an obvious scam. But in this fake made up world, it is legitimate. So she sells all her stuff and gets like $3,000. And then the boyfriend goes, hey, I paid the $10,000 so you can get your exorcism, which is absurd. Yeah.
Thanks, Professor Long.
Yeah, and he says something really weird, like he's like, oh, you know, I don't believe it, but if it makes you happy, I'll pay for it, or something along those lines.
Which just shows that love is the ultimate hero in all these movies.
Yeah, so that gets us towards like the final maybe half hour of this movie, the last act.
Yes.
And they're in like, you know, they're using a Ouija board. And I remember when I was when I was in year 12, I had a girlfriend and she was really into Ouija board. And I always...
Really?
Yeah, I always used to make fun of it because Ouija boards are obviously fake and like literally are a toy manufactured by the same company that makes Monopoly.
Yeah, that's a funny one. Did you ever like have any like Ouija sessions?
With her.
Yeah.
She always, when she would invite friends over and we'd all sit there and do Ouija board, and I would always purposely just hold my finger down on the thing to make it so they couldn't move it. Because it's all psychological. It's just like people wanting it to work, so they move their finger.
Wait,
right?
so you wouldn't like move it like and be that asshole to have it like F-U-C?
No, I would just put heaps of pressure on it so no one could move it.
Jeez, you're an asshole. I'm surprised you didn't get dragged to hell.
Yeah, it's just like it's not real, and it's like not fun to pretend. Oh no, there's a ghost.
Yeah, we can use our logic, but yes, they go to this person who I believe hang on, isn't that the kid grown up from the flashback at the start?
If it is, I didn't pick that up.
Ah, well.
I mean, I don't know how you know that. You weren't even sure if it was a boy or a girl.
Because I'm pretty sure she's a she at the end, so I think that's why.
But didn't she get dragged to hell?
Well, hang on. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, Mikey.
Okay.
Anyway, what happens next?
And then there's a goat. They have to sacrifice. Oh, sorry. Can we just go back a bit? Because I'm jumping around a bit. There's a point before this where the mage, whoever he is, the fortune teller goes, oh, you could sacrifice an animal to get rid of this. So she kills her own pet kitten.
Yeah.
But I think before that, she has this fucking cringy line where she's like, I'm a vegetarian. I volunteer at the animal shelter. I can't kill an animal. And I just lost my shit laughing because it was so bad.
And you know if they made that today, it would be like, I'm a vegan. I can't kill an animal.
Yeah, that's it. But so yeah, then they bring in a goat, and the idea is they're going to summon the demon demon and then transfer it to the goat, and then they're going to kill the goat, right? Feels like a pretty foolproof plan, right? But it doesn't quite work. So what happens, Pat?
Well, you could bloody say it drags on in a hellish way. No. Well, I want to throw back to the goat because I only have one note from that scene. Now, at one point during the whole process,
The goat talks. Yeah, I knew you were going to bring this up.
Okay, who wants to say the line?
I don't even remember the line.
All right,
what does he say?
I wrote it here. At one
Something,
point,
you bitch.
At one point, he goes, "You black-hearted whore."
Yeah, that's it.
And all I wrote in my notes was, quote, "You black-hearted whore," and then 2 crying emojis.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But it took me out. It was so goofy.
But often in media, the devil is often represented with like goat-like qualities. Like
that is
you
true.
know when Flanders is depicted as the devil in The Simpsons, and he's got like the goat legs, and I don't know if you've seen the movie. I think it's called Witch or Witches. No, it's called Witch. It's like a folk horror movie, and at the end, like the devil comes and he's like goat-like. So you know, I think that's the significance of the goat being used there. But yeah, it is funny when he starts talking, and then the guy who's supposed to kill the goat completely fucks it. The goat doesn't die, so the whole... Because I thought it was going to end there and like, we finally did it.
Yeah.
Nah, the demon gets away again. So then we're in the final act of the movie in which she goes, hey, like... Because you have to like give... Basically, we've skipped over this, but... The demon woman at the start took a button from like her coat.
Yes.
And that is the cursed object that she gives back to her. And the idea is if you're in possession of that button within 3 days, you're going to get dragged to hell. So then she realized, well, can I give it to someone else? And the mage guy's like, oh yeah, you probably could do that. So then she's in this like morally questionable moment in which she's trying to figure out who she can give this button to and doom to eternal damnation in hell. So the first person she sees is an old man who's like got cancer, and she's like, oh yeah, maybe his life's nearly up. Like she seems to forget she's damning them to eternal hell, burning in hell.
Also, I'm so sorry for interrupting you. No. That old man who you can also see he's got like a oxygen mask on. He's really fucked up. That was actually the butler of the Osborn family from the Spider-Man movies.
Oh, was it really? That's a very obscure cast knowing from you.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, it's the only role I really know him from, so I recognize his face.
Yeah, okay.
But speaking of cameos, though, probably a bit of a spoiler, but I mean, if you're listening to this pod, you're probably coming into that knowing that. But usually in Sam Raimi's movies...
Sam pops up.
I was actually going to say Bruce Campbell actually has a cameo. Usually he's like Robert De Niro, so to speak.
Yeah.
And he was nowhere to be seen in this movie. And I was a little surprised. I mean, not that like it ruins the movie because he's not in it. But yeah, usually like he was in all 3 of the Spider-Man movies. He was in Oz the Great and Powerful. He was in Doctor Strange. So yeah, I was a little surprised to...
He didn't have a cameo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. So she doesn't give it to the cancer guy. Then she thinks about giving it to one of her colleagues at work who she thinks is a bit of a tool, which is also not a reason to damn them to eternal hell.
Again,
like,
another reason why she's the asshole.
Yeah, that's it. Like, if someone said to me, Mike, like, you can choose anyone that you know, and like either you go to hell or you can send someone else to hell. Like I would not send my worst enemy to eternal damnation in hell, right? Now luckily we don't have to because canonically hell doesn't exist in the real world, but in this world it does. And then she has this genius plan. Like I don't know how she didn't think of this in the first place, but she's like, can I gift it to the dead woman who cursed me in the first place? And the mage guy's like, yeah, you probably could do that. So then she has this like psychological like maniac moment where she digs up the grave and she gives the envelope with the button in it back to the old lady. And then from all perspectives, it's all taken care of, and she goes off on a lovely date with Justin Long.
Yes,
at
J-Dog.
the end of the movie, and.
They do.
Why don't you finish this one up for us, buddy?
Sorry, I forgot how it went. No, I'm kidding. So it cuts to a train station. Justin Long is waiting for Christine. It's like, oh my God, where are you? He's a bit anxious. He pulls out a ring, implying that he's going to propose to her.
Yeah.
Christine eventually makes her way to the station. where she's in the clothes that she's been wearing, and I suppose she wants to be rid of it.
Yeah.
And
Because
sees
the button was from the coat she's
yes.
wearing. Yeah.
So in a way, she's like letting go of that and moving on. And so
Yeah.
she buys this new beautiful dress, meets him at the station. And lo and behold, Justin Long does have another gift for her that isn't just the ring, but he happens to find the button.
Yeah. So I guess we're led to believe that there were 2 envelopes with one with the button in it and one without the button in it.
Yeah, which
for some,
by
which
the
is
way,
a big
why
stretch.
the fuck wouldn't you check that? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if your life and like sanity was on the line,
Yeah.
you'd probably quadruple check it.
And afterlife.
Yeah.
And like, because there is a moment before where she's in the car with him and she's like, oh, I lost my envelope, right? And then she finds an envelope, but which we assume is the one with the button. But at this point, we find out it is in fact not the one with the button.
No.
Because Justin Long had that one. And I thought at this point he was going to go to hell. But he gives it to her, and then she falls on the train tracks and gets dragged down to hell in quite a pretty cool, gruesome finale.
I got to admit, that ending was awesome. And also, a train's approaching her and you think, oh my God, she's going to get splattered by it. But ironically, she's saved by being dragged down to hell. And like, as the train is like... saved from being hit by the train. But as the train is passing, she's under it and being dragged down.
and
so
she's
even though
screaming like, help me. And it's pretty intense.
and even though like obviously, she didn't get hurt by the train, she's got a bit of
Suffer
a
forever.
yes,
Bit of a hike
worse
ahead of her.
fate.
Yeah. And like, what I really respected about it is like the willingness to not end it in a victory. Like, she lost. She went to hell forever.
Which is proof that she's the fucking asshole.
Yeah, that's it. But it was good. Like, to wrap, I didn't expect it to wrap like that. And if
same.
anything, I thought because Justin Long's character had the button, he was going to go to hell and she'd sort of be the ultimate victim that like she accidentally passed it on to him. But overall pretty good. I did do a little bit of reading on it. Did you see the fan theory that it's actually a movie about her, like it's all representative of her like eating disorder? Did you read about this?
No.
Okay,
what?
so there's another plot line in the movie that isn't really like addressed or like given any context, but it constantly mentions that when she was younger, she was like a bigger woman. Do you remember that? Like
I
some
do
of the
remember that,
You
yes.
see photos of her as a kid and she's like
A little
quite
chubby,
large.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, so people have actually speculated that, and all of the, a lot of the things with the demon involve either something going down her throat, like the fist in her throat, or her vomiting up stuff.
That's
so
true.
a lot of people think the movie is like a metaphor or an analogy to bulimia and anorexia and eating disorder, and that's all of that stuff is her mental health manifesting this demon, which is actually her own sort of eating issues, which is actually like, I don't think that's true, but it's an interesting like reading of it, right?
So that's why the boss was like, did I get any in my mouth?
But overall, like, what's common with Movie Club that I've found is like,
There's movies.
it's a club, it's a 2-person club, it will never get bigger, or it might, but like, often I watch the movie and I'm like, it was all right. But then in talking about it, I kind of like grow a better appreciation of it. What do you reckon?
Look, I'm not going to pretend that I think this is a movie I'm going to watch every Halloween or spooky season or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is probably a movie I'm unlikely to revisit anytime soon.
Yeah.
However, I can definitely appreciate it. And you can tell that this was a breath of fresh air for Sam Raimi, coming off, doing 3 Spider-Man movies back to back and having his big horror background. Obviously, I'm really glad he got to go back to that.
Yeah, I know what you mean when you say a breath of fresh air for him, but I do think it's got Raimi written all over it.
Yes.
And you even see a lot of body horror all those years later in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness and everything. So, like, really good, and I really like Sam Raimi. Like, those Spider-Man movies are such a big part of my childhood, so I really am keen to watch more.
And he even carried that on with Oz the Great and Powerful by casting James Franco.
Yes, which is a horrific movie, and I think we've talked about it before. But I think wrapping up, now there's too many movies we've done to keep recapping like the rankings.
We're gonna need like a Top Gear style like ranker on the wall.
Yeah, we need to do a tier list at the end. But I guess I enjoyed this movie, and I think we're actually for October we are staying in a similar-ish genre because it's your pick.
Yes.
Do you want to explain to everyone what the pick is and why you've gone down this route?
Well, essentially, Mike, I had a few ideas. I had some more recent. I had some classics, but there was one classic I thought would make a great inaugural Halloween movie.
Because Movie Club comes out on the last day of the month. So October 31st is Halloween. So it makes sense to do a horror.
Hold on to your bloody bums, people, because we're going back to 1960s iconic Alfred Hitchcock movie, Psycho.
Yeah, so we will be doing Psycho. I'm pretty excited. I've always wanted to watch it, and I think it's going to be really fun. Like we did Brewster's Millions from the 80s, but now we're going all the way back to the 60s, and this is like, Hitchcock is considered one of the best directors of all time. So
that's it, and 2 whole decades before Brewster's Millies.
So I'm really excited for next month. So stoked with how Movie Club's going, Pat.
100%.
And I guess all that's left to say is...
hey, can you just refill my popcorn, please? Yeah, there's like no butter flavor in this, man.
Oh, sorry. Do you want a refund? Because we're out of butter.
Oh.
You could go to Coles downstairs and get butter and we'll heat it up for you.
Can I just get like a free popcorn next time? I'm really particular with what I want.
I'll have to ask my manager, but he's not available right now.
Okay, who's the next available?
I'm the next available, but I don't have the authority to make this decision.
Okay, do you have a corporate number I can call?
We do, but I don't actually know it.
That's okay. Could you please ask someone else if they know it?
Yeah, hey, Dave. Oh, Dave, I thought you were from WorkSafe.
Cut!